teens to open up and talk isn't always easy.
Amen to that. For the next month, though, Joan Early is traveling to 4 different high schools in Central Arkansas to find out what's really on their minds.
Her first stop is Conway High School, where they tackle the topic of social media. Take a look.
If you talk to teens here at Conway High School, the social media landscape is changing. We sat down with 10 students who spoke candidly about the pros and cons of living their teenage years in a public forum. So where is the activity when it comes to social media in teens today?
Twitter,
Instagram.
Why? Why has it kind of moved away from Facebook?
There's just a lot of older adults on Facebook and grandmas, and so it's not as cool anymore.
I mean, it's kind of like the new thing. Kids want the new thing, and Twitter and Instagram, that's the new thing right now. It's what's hot. I mean, Facebook's just gotten old.
Also, I think Facebook's too personal. Like, you can know too much about me because of my Facebook.
Right.
You still want to like stay in touch with your friends, but you just don't want to be that exposed.
You also mentioned the parent factor, though, that parents are not on Twitter. So is that the big draw? I mean, how many of you have parents that go through your phones and look at all your...
It's almost like going through your drawers or something. You just don't go through someone's drawers. That's what phones have become. It's like, no, you don't do it unless you have permission.
Not even like your best friend can go through your phone. Like, that's a big no-no.
What are they going to see, though? What is the big deal?
It's just the uncomfortable factor of having yourself out there for somebody else to really kind of delve into the personal aspect of your life, to see kind of like, well, here's what I've been talking to this person. And even, I mean, there's nothing to hide.
I would not want them to read my timeline because I wouldn't want them to judge my friends by what they tweet.
My parents pay my phone bill, so they have access to my phone whenever they want. So
A lot of people will go there, behind a keyboard than they are when they're in person.
Social media, there's different standards of communication that you use in real life and that you use there, because I think that people don't really think about the consequences of what they say.
Have you seen people really hurt? I mean, friends, like really hurt?
And I think it's blurred the lines of what we consider like private. I mean, I could have a conversation with Colton and he could tell me something and then I would go post about it, when he didn't really want me to post about it. But it's just like, it's made it a bigger deal as far as thinking about what you can share with the rest of the world.
I mean, people act like it's person to person, and they don't realize Twitter is person to group, so you just don't know who's really watching you and who's going to say something.
Do you feel like it increases jealousy?
I think people, like a lot of teenagers especially, forget that like when you see social media, you're comparing other people's like highlight reel to your backstage. I mean, you don't see, nobody's gonna tweet like, oh, today I got grounded and I had a huge fight with my parents. You see like, oh, I took a trip here, like I got this today. Like,
so with so much drama and you have to be so careful, have you ever thought about just giving it up? Putting it away?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Sometimes it's hard to let it go because everyone's talking like about this person's tweet or what this person posted, and you want to go see for yourself. And if you don't have a Twitter, then you're just kind of out of luck.
And those kids who are unplugged don't really have an option. It's mainly their parents that don't want them getting involved in the social media. And what ends up happening is they get it anyways without their parents knowing.
The problem is nowadays that everybody has that fear of missing out.
So are you better for it or worse?
Depends on how you use it. It's very dependent on how you use it.
I mean, you can use it to make your life richer. You can use it to connect with people and to keep in touch and to kind of connect with people and get involved in new things, or you can let it control how you view yourself.
I mean, you got jerk
it goes
people.
back to your morals and like how your parents raised you, because either way, like communication is there, like these forms of social media, but it all comes back down to what your morals are and your standards and what lines you're willing to and not willing to cross.
It should add to all of the awesome things you do, not keep you from experiencing all of those awesome things.
There's no doubt about it, social media is here to stay. Twitter and Instagram are popular now, but there's always something new right around the corner, and you can be guaranteed that your sons and daughters are going to be finding out about it first. In Conway, Joan Early, Channel 7 News.
Who knew Facebook was no longer cool because grandma's on it, huh? My grandma's not on it. Guess that says a lot about me, too. Next week, Joan sits down with 10 students from Little Rock Central High to get their thoughts on the future and how they're planning to succeed in today's fragile economy.
I like the kid who said, my parents pay my phone bills so they can Anytime they
Yes.
want, they can look at it.
You think he's heard that before?
Yeah.
That's a line straight from mom and dad.
Sure, and he might be in the minority in thinking that, but I like the way he's
Yeah,
thinking.
I didn't hear them chime in with
No.
that. Nobody else did.
The dismal economic news in recent years has shaken the confidence of most adults.
So how does it affect teenagers on the verge of graduating from high school?
Today, Joan Early takes us to Central High School to find out how teens there are planning for their future.
Most experts agree that teenagers today may be part of the first generation to have a lower standard of living than their parents. So what does that do to the hopes and the dreams of high schoolers? We sat down with 10 of the best from Little Rock Central High School to find out. We have high unemployment, the economy's still trying to pull itself out of the recession, and the job prospects for you coming out of college are not going to be the same as they were for your parents' generation. How does that make you feel? Are you not optimistic about it?
Well, it's definitely intimidating, and I know that we're gonna have to work so much more to get where we want to do, but it's inspiring. Like, the amount of work that we're gonna have to do, it's something that we realize, and we know that we're gonna have to work hard.
So how does that make you approach college differently than maybe your parents did?
Well, if anything, we've been in this struggle already with colleges being more selective about who they accept, and so we've become accustomed to having to push even harder, become even better to even get into college, and so I think the job market would be about the same coming out of college.
Well, you all are a select group, though. What do you think about the bigger percentage of your peers?
Well, if we're talking about the majority of our students, a lot of them are going to face that problem after they graduate in May. Not all of our students are going, our peers are going to college. It's not the right choice for some of them, and they're dealing with it now, and I think, you know, they have a struggle ahead.
We have a little bit of a biased perspective though, because we're at the top of our class and we've already met success in high school.
Yeah.
And you know, I would like to believe that I will succeed based on how hard I work in the future, but it's probably not true. I think a lot of it's luck, and you just have to do what you can.
What about the pressure? I mean, you all have had to think about this for a long time. I mean, do you feel like it's taken away a little bit of your youth and your freedom?
Well,
I think we learned to balance it pretty well.
Yeah, for sure.
The most of us, we work really hard on the weekdays, and then, when we can find freedom, we certainly find it.
We're all at the top of our class, but for me to get here, I've been worrying and stressing myself out since 9th grade.
I started thinking about college in 8th grade, 7th grade.
Do most of you feel like you have to have a graduate degree to be able to survive in the economy today?
Well, for me, I planned on going to college to major in what I would believe would be a fallback. I plan on being a neurosurgeon, but I'm getting a degree in biomedical engineering. That way, I could have a sort of fallback thing in case things kind of fall out underneath me as I try to get that doctorate degree.
I'm gonna major in a science, probably biology. I want to go to med school.
I want to be a lawyer, and I really like arguing with people, so...
When you are out of college, finally finished with all of your studies, and you start working, when are you going to feel like you finally made it?
There's not going to be a moment, I feel like, when I've thought I have made it, I've accomplished what I want to, because there will always be more things I want to accomplish.
And whenever I feel like, I am established, and I know in my heart that I've done everything that I can to get, where I will be at that time, then that's when I'll feel everything's good.
I'm fairly optimistic as well, and I really hope that's not just the naivety of youth. I hope that the trust I put in the world will kind of come back to me.
And a special thanks to Joan Early for sitting down with those smart teens tonight. Next week, she goes to Pulaski Academy to talk about dating. Is it different today for teenagers? We'll find out just in time for Valentine's Day.
And a future lawyer did not argue with Joan, so that was, he was very polite.
He's very good.
That probably does make a good lawyer.
Well, even though today is Valentine's Day, Cupid is hard at work every day in most high schools in America.
That's what they call it now, Cupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Young love plays a big role in the social development of teenagers, but how different are those experiences for teens today?
Joan Early talks to teens at Pulaski Academy about love and dating.
You may be surprised to find out that traditional dating is outdated. Teens today have their own way of doing things. That's why we sat down with 10 students at Pulaski Academy to find out what's really going on when it comes to romance and relationships. How many of you, and raise your hand, are currently involved in a dating relationship or have been involved in a dating relationship? So all of you. Okay. How many of you are currently dating? So steady relationships are pretty common? Or no?
I feel like dating traditionally is less common now. I feel like it's more just hanging out with friends, and then you start to like want to see each other again, so you just go hang out on your own.
It's not like playing like you were saying. You don't say like, hey, I think you're kind of cute. You want to go out with me or something? You just kind of hang around the same places with the same people, and it just kind of evolves from that.
Hanging out is such a vague term from a parent's perspective. Define hanging out.
Spending time together.
I feel like you're just friends, just like you have your guy friends and your girlfriends, and that group just hangs out, and then you start to like someone, and then you kind of separate. Or at least that's how it was for me.
My parents actually made me, when I first started dating, I had to hang out in groups of people with my boyfriend. With my first boyfriend, I was required to always have an extra person there.
And my parents are definitely more traditional in that aspect, and they want the guy to come in and meet them. And I want to know who's taking my girl out. So
If the guy's like wanting to be serious, then I'm sure he'll come in and try and talk to the parents a little bit more. But if he's just trying to have like a girl to hang out with and not like be serious and like go on with, then he probably won't make such an effort.
If you have a situation where you're confused and you need dating advice, who do you go to, your peers or your parents?
I wouldn't go to my parents. They're just, I don't know, like I know them too well.
Just more comfortable. Parents give you advice without you asking for it. So then sometimes you just want to go to your friends because what your parents are telling you is from 45, 50 years ago. It's a little outdated.
So is there anything your parents could do that would make you want to ask for their advice? Like anything they could say, or is it just a lost cause?
I feel like when something's really, really serious, then I tend to turn to my parents. Like if it's a make or break decision, then I tend to go to my parents. But it's like the little things like, help me interpret this text message. Like, what does this even mean? That's easier to go to your friends.
Let's talk about the L word. When do you say the L word?
When you feel it.
And not before.
It doesn't feel as special if you know they've said it to like 20 other people, but if you know that they've only said it to a couple people, then you know that they really mean it. So
like unless I like truly do like feel like a really deep connection like with someone, I won't say I love you.
It's definitely overused today in today's relationships. I feel it is.
It's not like a word that needs to be played with. It's really something serious that a lot of people, I feel like in our generation, don't really understand as much as like in our parents' generation where like they knew like they were in love.
Do you wish at any point ever that you could go back in time and grow up when your parents grew up and date that way? Or do you like it this way?
I've thought about it. It'd be simpler, but I don't know, it'd be a lot different. I don't think I'd like it now.
I like the option of being non-traditional and traditional. But now it's just kind of like with Twitter and Facebook and texting, you know where everyone is, like what they're doing, and so it's not as surprising as it used to be. And so I guess that kind of takes away from the fun of it, but it's still, I guess, fun.
It has never been simple. Special thanks to Joan for talking with those teens. Next week, she talks to teenagers about their relationships with their parents. She goes to Benton High School to find out what they say their parents are doing right and doing wrong. If you have a teenager at home, you know that conversations with him can sometimes resemble walking through a minefield.
You never know what will spark an argument. It's a natural time for teens to pull away from mom or dad. So how do you keep them close and keep the conversation flowing?
Joan Early checked in with some high schoolers from Benton to find out.
Unfortunately, teenagers don't come with instructions. Most parents want the best for their kids, but the teenage years can be difficult. We sat down with 10 students from Benton High School to talk about what they wish their moms and dads would do differently. All parenting experts out there agree that to raise successful teenagers, you have to have great lines of communication between parents and teenagers. Is that happening in your households?
It isn't mine. Yeah. Like my mom just tries to stay involved, like with me and my friends, and there's definitely a line that not to cross and that you need to go and cross. But like she tries to stay involved with my friends, know what's really going on at school.
I usually have like the exact polar opposite view of whatever my mom says. I'm not sure if that's just because like I'm a teenager and I just want to be contrary because I can be, or if it's because, but like usually we'll have pretty different views.
I think it's a sign of distrust by parents, really, when they start asking a bunch of questions, because they've raised you and they should believe that they've raised you the right way. And when they start asking a bunch of questions, it's more like they don't believe in what they've done.
You almost feel like they're accusing you of something without actually saying
Like
it.
they're trying to find the wrong that you did that day, you know, or something.
So what do parents need to do to make that communication better? Do they need to keep their mouths shut more and you will talk more?
I feel like parents always think that something huge is going on in your life, and sometimes you just need help with homework. But like they don't get that. Yeah.
Like they can preach a lesson to you over and over again, but you're gonna go out and do it anyway. So you're gonna teach yourself the lesson rather than like listen to whatever they're saying.
Do you feel like they get you? Like they understand what your experience is as a teenager?
Yes.
Yeah, I do, but to a certain extent. Like, I like your input, but it doesn't have to be like so black and white.
Yeah. Well, like if they see something on Facebook or something, they'll ask you about it before you even tell them about it. I'm like, Mom, it's not a big deal, and she's like, but it's on here. I'm like, it's not anything. And like they just like they're all over like social media.
They see something on Twitter, like my mom's on my Twitter all the time, and she's like, "What's this about? What's this about?" And I'm like, "That no one even talks about that at all." So them not being at school and then acting like they know what went on, that annoys me because they don't. They're not at school with us.
Or like every time you hang out with the opposite sex, they think something more is there. It's like, Mom, Dad, we're just friends, I promise.
How open are you all at home when it comes to talking about sex, drugs, alcohol?
They've talked about it for like a really long time, like don't do it. And so like it's been so like awful for like you're never going to do it, so they think, well, yeah, we've taught them to not do this, they're never going to do it, so if you wanted to come and tell them about it or anything like that, and they'd be like, oh my God, you're not the person I thought you were. You're like,
the parent already knows you kind of do that stuff. I mean, if they don't, they're just kind of lying to you. I mean, they're just kind of lying to themselves about their child, so I mean, I'm pretty sure they kind of know, but I mean, not all of it, I'm just some of it.
You know, my parents know that like they've raised me a certain way, and I mean I'm not gonna do that stuff. Like, and if I do, they're gonna find out one way or another.
Fast forward 20 years. Here you are, parents of teenagers yourselves. How will you do it? How will you parent them?
Well, I guess I'll let them know the consequences for every action and be there to support them, because they're always gonna mess up no matter what you do, and you have to be there to pick them back up when they mess up.
I wouldn't teach just don't do it. I'd teach what do you do if you do it.
I would make sure that they know I don't expect them to be the perfect kid. Like, no one is. You know what I mean? And like, you don't have to make your life perfect and make your life seem perfect. Like, I know that you're a human being. I was a kid once.
Some very good insight there. Special thanks to Joan for sitting down with those teens.
For sure.